So today we're reviewing the brand new Pixel 6a. I wanted to take my time with this phone because I think it's a very special product for $449, especially considering that Google is giving you the exact same processor and some of the hardware that's inside of the Pixel 6 and Pixel 6 Pros. Even on top of that, there's just not a lot of other smaller Android devices, especially here in North America where your selection is basically iPhone, Samsung, or Google. And I think for $449 to get a device that feels this good in the hand with similar performance to the more expensive versions of the Pixel 6 is something that should be in a lot of people's short list. Right off the bat, the design may look very similar to the Pixel 6 and Pixel 6 Pro, but some of the materials they're using are a bit different. For one, the back of these products are different. On the Pixel 6a, it's using a plastic back, whereas on the Pixel 6 Pro, it happens to be glass. You do get wireless charging with the 6 Pro, whereas on the 6a, it does not come with it. Now, this is kind of a downfall for me because I want wireless charging on everything. I use it every single day. So that's kind of a bummer that's not on this device. If this was more expensive, I'd be outraged. So I'm just gonna be a little upset this time. Now, looking at these devices, I actually prefer the look of the Pixel 6a because the camera bump on the back is a little bit more flush and it doesn't stick out as much. It looks a bit more futuristic than the Pixel 6 Pro. This just to me looks unfinished. It's like they put the body and then just slapped a camera module on the top and called it a day. Headphone jack is gone as expected. I mean, they were gonna take it away one day, so those days are now over, but everything from the antenna lines to the sides of the body, the button placement, to even the SIM card slot are identical on both of these devices. Now, this is not IP68, so don't be dropping this in water for all day, but it is IP67, which is a little bit of a downgrade compared to the Pixel 6 and Pixel 6 Pro, but surprisingly, they were able to keep very similar sound quality. In fact, I played these two against each other, and I did find the Pixel 6 Pro to match the volume of the Pixel 6a, but I think because of the bigger body, the highs were a little bit cleaner on the 6 Pro compared to the 6a. Fingerprint Scanner is very identical. I didn't find it to be much better than the Pixel 6, and I just read reports of people being able to use their fingers that are not registered to log into the device. So that's kind of a security issue, but I think overall the software updates and the additional time that Google's had has made the fingerprint scanner a little bit faster, but it's still not as quick as optical scanners that I've used on other devices. Now, thankfully, the Pixel 6a does come with a Oled display. It's 1080p and it does support HDR, but the quality of the Oled panel is not nearly as good as the Pixel 6 or the Pixel 6 Pro. In fact, if you look at them, especially side by side, you can tell there's a color difference. Even with the Pixel 6a being on boosted mode, which is the most vibrant you can get under the display settings, it still looks a slightly bit duller than the Pixel 6 Pro when it's on its natural mode. So if you want vibrant, punchy colors, this display is not gonna do that. If you wanna combat that and get the best experience, you're gonna wanna keep the brightness slider all the way up. I found that was the only thing I can do to kind of match the natural mode on the Pixel 6 Pro. But yeah, this OLED panel is not the best one in the books. Also, I know across tech Twitter, people are upset that this display is only 60 Hertz. And again, remember, this is a $449 phone. And if you put it in context and compare it to other products at this price point, like the iPhone mini, for example, which is even more expensive, it's fine. You know, like if this was 800 bucks or 700 bucks, I'd be upset. But I think they did a good job of fine tuning the 60 Hertz. There are some devices that just do 60 Hertz better than others. One of them is the iPhone, and the second one that comes to mind is the Pixel 6a. Whatever animations and tuning they're doing when you scroll up and down the screen feels a little bit faster than your typical 60 Hertz display. Now visually, I'm just looking at both of these devices and you can tell that the bezels are a bit bigger, but again, because this is a flat display, typing on it is just so much more enjoyable. Plus, if you're using this throughout the day and you're worried about battery life, I was shocked. This 4100 milliamp hour battery got me through the entire day without any issues, even during heavy testing. So camera work, video, gaming, social media, I was still able to end the day with at least 25% battery life left. If you're just like a light user, a normal user with email, music, browsing the web and stuff like that, this will easily end the day with 30 to 35% battery life. So they did a good job with that. Now the front-facing camera differs a bit. With the Pixel 6a, it's 10 megapixels, and the Pixel 6 Pro is a bit higher. If you're using the front-facing camera, you can only do 1x and 1.4 with the Pixel 6a, whereas on the Pixel 6 Pro, it does 0.7, so a bit wider, and 1x. I didn't find that much of a difference. Like, don't get me wrong, the Pixel 6 Pro does look better. It's a little bit cleaner and sharper, and it has a higher resolution camera to compensate for it, but it's not a massive difference. I think the computational photography that Google is doing in the background did a fairly good job of matching the actual picture quality. If we're talking about the reverse cams, that's where things start to change. With the Pixel 6 Pro, we're talking about a 50 and 48 megapixel camera, but the main camera on the Pixel 6a is only 12. The same camera that you'd find on the Pixel 6.5. What really struck me as surprising was that the camera quality when you're shooting regular photos is so similar to the Pixel 6 Pro. It's really hard to tell the difference in terms of the photo styles. Sometimes the Pixel 6 Pro would make images look a bit more contrasty, and other times the Pixel 6 would be a bit brighter, but the actual color science was so darn close. It wasn't until you started moving closer to the actual subject that you noticed the difference in cameras. With the Pixel 6 Pro, the edges started to blur out. You get more bokeh and you get more center focus on whatever you were shooting. With the Pixel 6, that didn't happen. Now, when it came to video, they both shoot 4K 30 and 60, and I did find the quality to be slightly better on the 6 Pro. It just was a bit cleaner, it had a little bit less jitter, but it wasn't massive. In fact, it was so close that you wouldn't think this was a camera that you had to pay extra for. It should be more like $25 difference rather than a few $100 difference. All right, so now we're taking a look at the Pixel 6a versus the Pixel 6 Pro. This is the front-facing camera. You guys let me know which one sounds better, and of course, which one has the better microphone for the front-facing camera. Now, in terms of performance, it does have the same Tensor chip as the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro, but it does only have 6 gigabytes of RAM compared to 8. In terms of everyday fluidity, obviously the Pixel 6 Pro felt faster because it has the high refresh display, and the extra RAM just allows you to keep things in the background for a bit longer. I did game on the Pixel 6a, it does perform very well, but I did get a couple of dropped frames here and there. Honestly, for the price, this is the best Pixel 6. The Pixel 6a may not be perfect, it's lacking wireless charging, which is a big kick to my nuts, but it is what it is, and I would have loved it to have a more bright OLED display. But at the end of the day, you're getting the same Tensor chip and AI capabilities that makes the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro so great when it comes to Google-related tasks, especially when you're transcribing and using the Google Assistant. On top of that, the camera experience is just as consistent and almost identical to the more expensive Pixel 6 Pro. I truly don't feel like I'm missing out using the Pixel 6 Pro's camera over the Pixel 6a. I do wish the screen was a tad more vibrant to match the quality of the other two devices, but again, this phone is a little bit cheaper. I think if you're looking at a Pixel 6 at this point in time, just get the Pixel 6a because it's hands down my favorite Pixel 6. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.